Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Bonsai greets you as well. Well. We're talking about Eskom. Once Bonsai closes his big mouth. He is adorable, but he's a bit noisy. It's a bit early in the morning for the dog. Now, this is all about Eskom and its woes, and they aren't getting any better, believe me. And I would make a prediction that Eskom is going to be sold off, and we'll be talking about that in this video. And when it is sold off, there's going to be a huge amount of people retrenched. I'm talking tens of thousands of people who are retrenched, because a private company is not going to pay people who sit there and do nothing, whereas the South African government has been doing that, which is part of the problem with Eskom. Only just part. Corruption's a big one. So, what's happening? Well, let me tell you. The Eskom Special Appropriation Bill, in its 38 lines, states that the troubled Eskom will get 26 billion rand for the 2019-2020 financial year and 33 billion in the following financial year. And it says the finance minister may impose conditions to be met by Eskom before any part of that amount is transferred. Such conditions under discussion include selling off Eskom's finance company loan book of about 10 billion rand. The in-house lender focuses on Eskom's employees' home loans and using the special appropriation bill monies only to pay off debt and interest on debt. Other conditions include daily reporting on its liquidity and monthly reports signed off by the chief financial and executive officers. But such potential conditions are not yet finalised. MPs on the Standing Committee on Appropriations were told. The bottom line, however, according to National Treasury Director General Dondo Mogajani, is grim. He said, "We are in trouble. And that trouble may be worse than Parliament having to approve 59 billion rand extra appropriations over 2 years. An extra special appropriation law in 2015 allowed government to sell its Vodacom stake to raise 23 billion rand for Eskom. In another bailout after February's budget, allocated another 23 billion rand a year to the power utility over the next decade. MPs were bluntly told that if Eskom doesn't raise the money it has said it would by itself, or 46 billion rand for the 2019-2020 financial year, ending March next year, more demands on the already strained national purse will follow. Failure to execute the funding plan requires additional funding in addition to the funding provided through the Special Appropriation Bill. So right now, the National Treasury's unrelenting message is that everyone must pull together. Eskom cutting costs, upping maintenance, and the power utility managers taking a salary cut. Now, I put up a video earlier today where, this is on Loving Life 2019 channel, where thieves are stealing part of the structure of the Eskom power pylons, and a few of them have actually fallen over as a result. Imagine what the cost of that is. That's just one of the things that is happening out in the field. And of course we have all these illegal connections to the terminals. Getting back to the story, Mogajani said, if an executive Eskom earns 2 million rand, can that executive earn 1.8 million rand? And he went on to say, it can't be business as usual when the economy isn't doing well and tax revenues are not coming through. Eskom cannot be the same tomorrow. It has to be a different one. Wednesday's briefing on the Special Appropriation Bill financing of Eskom, the power utility is some 450 billion rand in the red and counting. It kept the Director General on his toes. Many of the MPs' questions on Eskom's governance structures, the role of its newly appointed Chief Restructuring Officer, and even the power utilities coal contracts, 90% given to two companies, which are making that poor, emaciated cow hoping skin and bones will turn into milk, as ANC MP Dipuo Peters put it. The committee is set to meet Eskom and Public Enterprises on the 10th of September 2019 in the programme to process a special appropriation bill. It is a meeting National Treasury wants to gatecrash. A special paper on Eskom would be available only in September, according to Public Enterprise Minister Pravin Gordhan. It's meant to situate the troubled power utilities recovery in a broader context, including the unbundling into three parts: generation, transmission and distribution, first raised in the February State of the Nation address and yet to be acted on. Apparent cabinet tensions led to toing and froing between finance and public enterprise. The plan in early July had been for Eskom special paper to be released, with a special appropriation bill tabled by the finance minister on the 23rd of July, but that changed. As public enterprise claimed control of the Eskom paper, a leaked presentation seen by a paper is planning to finalise the unbundling of Eskom over a lengthy 4 years. Understood to have been presented by Eskom board chairperson Jabu Mabuza, currently doubling up as acting CEO. It's clearly indicating that Eskom in its current form is unsustainable. One slide says, if we do nothing, Eskom will collapse and bring down South Africa. But aside from the cost reductions of 33 billion rand, better maintenance and the unbundling that is already more than 6 months behind, this presentation indicates that Eskom would rely on government for much of its recovery, and electricity users are set to pay even more in electricity tariffs, which remain a mainstay revenue generator for Eskom, even as its own figures show declining electricity sales in a tough economic environment. Amid the tension over division of labour in Cabinet, Finance Minister Tito Mboweni on Tuesday released a smartly policy-focused discussion paper on what should be done to boost economic growth and create 1 million jobs to South Africa so that it can move forward from a stubbornly stalled economy. Now, you might recall I actually spoke about this particular policy paper, and it's complete hocus pocus. It is just Alice in Wonderland stuff. It's complete crap, to be quite blunt. And there's a video about that I put up yesterday. In that finance paper, Eskom has still been unbundled, with its independent transmission company buying electricity from independent power producers, private homes and firms that have gone off the grid. Electricity prices have soared over 170% in the past decade, according to official statistics. Should be allowed to resell their excess power to the grid, and Eskom should auction off its coal power stations under strict conditions. But closer to home is the Eskom Special Appropriations Bill that must be passed by both the National Assembly and National Council of Provinces, or NCOP, for Eskom to get the special 59 billion rand allocation. Following the deadline for public comments on 6 September and public hearings, the committee is scheduled to finalise its report by 17 September, after which it will go to the House and, if adopted, there to the NCOP. But this Eskom special appropriation process is unfolding, and dire finances and governance crisis at other state-owned enterprises. This includes arms manufacturer Denel, which has twice now not paid full salaries and failed to pay over full pension and social security contributions. It is looking for a bailout. And after 3 different communications over just more than a year, asking for a 3 billion rand bailout for the public broadcaster, the SABC on Tuesday told the MPs it had run out of money. Cash flows depleted, and therefore the SABC cannot honour payments to service providers, adhere to its commitment contracts and commission local content, according to the presentation to the NCOP Public Enterprise and Communications Committee. The SAB is technically insolvent. The difference between SABC and Eskom? If Eskom fails, so does South Africa. full stop. Now, let's have a look at what Treasury is actually wanting to do with Eskom. And this is going to have a huge impact on all the employees working there. The National Treasury has issued its first real indication of its plan to unbundle Eskom, saying that it would consider disposing of the debt-ridden power utilities' coal power stations in an effort that could potentially raise about 450 billion rand. In an economic policy paper released for the public comment yesterday, the Treasury said Eskom needed to restructure and modernize its business in light of international developments, as well as its own poor technical and commercial performance. It said alternative models such as separation of generation assets are leaving the state-owned transmission company to buy electricity transparently from independent power producers, or IPPs, and state-owned power generators were also being explored. The government could take a decision that Eskom should sell coal-fired power stations, possibly through a series of auctions, the Treasury said. Through these auctions, Eskom would sell the power station itself, all its power station-specific obligations, staff contracts, coal supply contracts, supplied contracts, environmental obligations, and so on, together with a power purchase agreement, or PPA, at a predefined power station-specific tariff. National Treasury said the PPA would see new power station owners to supply a specific amount of electricity annually over the remaining lifetime of the power station to the single buyer office at Eskom at a predefined tariff. It said on average half of Eskom's coal-powered fleet was over 37 years old. South Africa's economy depends on electricity produced by Eskom, with its primarily coal-based generation plants, nuclear power station and some hydropower, and a small percentage of renewables. However, growth in Eskom's generation capacity has not kept pace, with aging coal power plants still making up much of the supply, and the commissioning of new plants, Medupi and Kusile, still in progress. Energy expert Ted Blom said the selling of the power stations was a good idea, but government had waited too long to consider this option. Blom said, "The issue is the value of the power stations. There is a big question around the value of coal stations because most of them are not performing optimally. You can't go around selling broken things and expect buyers to pay top price for broken stations, while they still need to spend more money fixing them. I believe even if they go ahead and sell them, they will not raise the type of money they expect." Eskom's total carrying value of the unaudited debt of the company at the end of March 2019 was 440 billion rand, of which 273 billion rand nominal value is government guaranteed. The Treasury said it was also considering ring-fencing grid investments, which should be monitored by the National Energy Regulator of South Africa to ensure the sustainability of the grid. It said the restructuring would result in the mooted independent transmission company buying electricity transparently from IPPs. It said it also wanted regulation to make it possible for households and firms to sell excess electricity they generate. Capital Economics senior emerging market economist John Ashburn said the plans were as a result of Eskom's investment spending cuts in recent years, which saw the utility facing a huge backlog of repair and construction work. Ashburn said things might actually get worse over the coming years. Many of Eskom's aging coal plants are expected to come to the end of their useful lives in the 2020s and early 2030s. Replacing them will require costly investments, Ashburn said. South Africans have until September the 15th to comment on the paper. So, it looks like Eskom is going to be sold off, but they're not going to raise the 450 billion rand. You know, it's going to cost the country a huge amount of money as these assets are hopefully turned around by private enterprise, because the ANC government is just totally incompetent, corrupt, and BEE has completely destroyed Eskom. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video and be safe.